For generations, we've operated under a very specific assumption about the planet. We have looked at fresh water, vast coal deposits, and sprawling forests, and treated them as a bottomless inheritance, infinite, free gifts provided by a generous earth. But a lump of coal buried a mile underground does nothing on its own. A rushing river doesn't generate electricity by existing. In their natural state, raw materials are completely inert. They require our intervention to become valuable. To accurately define what a resource is, we have to look at this intersection. A material only becomes a resource when it is physically present in nature, accessible through our technology, and managed by our economic and cultural institutions. This means resources are not static objects sitting on a shelf waiting to be taken. They are the active result of human ingenuity. We construct the tools, build the supply chains, and create the demand that transforms raw matter into something useful. Viewing these materials as magical, infinite gifts instead of complex, human-driven transformations hides the true cost of extracting them, and that misunderstanding is exactly what drove us into our current ecological crisis. When we treat resources as free gifts with no inherent cost, extraction becomes a race for the first claim. Historically, this meant the groups with the most advanced technology simply seized the most valuable deposits first, concentrating the world's wealth into two distinct segments, the haves and the have-nots. Beyond social division, this extraction at any cost mentality hit the physical planet. Decades of indiscriminate exploitation accelerated global warming, severely depleted the ozone layer, and poisoned local environments. You can see the scale of behavior in places like this terraced open-pit mine. We move millions of tons of earth, carving entire mountains into hollow bowls to satisfy a relentless industrial demand. If a privileged minority continues this pace of unchecked depletion, we run out of runway. The sustained quality of life for the global population and the future viability of the planet itself is actively in danger. To understand how this collapse happens, we have to look at the ground beneath our feet. Land is a strictly finite asset. It provides 95% of our basic needs for food, shelter, and clothing. Land degrades naturally over time, but our specific industrial and agricultural practices have drastically accelerated this decay, turning productive earth into wasteland. In regions like Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, aggressive mining and deforestation leave deep, unhealable scars. We extract the material, abandon the site, and leave behind barren, overburdened earth where a forest used to be. The damage takes different forms depending on the industry. In western states like Gujarat and Rajasthan, severe overgrazing strips the land of its protective vegetative cover, exposing the top layer to rapid erosion. In Punjab and Haryana, the threat is actually too much water. Massive over-irrigation floods the fields, leading to waterlogging that drastically increases the salt and alkaline levels in the soil, rendering it toxic to crops. Then there are the airborne threats. Cement processing and ceramic manufacturing generate massive quantities of fine industrial dust that billows out into the atmosphere. Eventually, that dust settles over the surrounding landscape. It forms a hard, impermeable physical seal over the ground, making it impossible for rainwater to infiltrate the soil. Our current extraction methods actively break the land's structural ability to absorb water and regenerate, effectively silencing the cycle of renewal. When we talk about soil, we tend to think of it as dead dirt, but it is an incredibly complex, living biological system. It's a precise mixture of weathered rock, decayed organic matter, moisture, and millions of living organisms. Building this system requires extreme geological time. It takes millions of years of shifting temperatures, running water, and decomposing plant life to form just a few centimeters of rich topsoil. Because its formation speed is glacial, the loss is permanent. Once we degrade that top layer or allow it to wash away, it is effectively gone forever on a human timescale. As the physical limits of our land become impossible to ignore, the threat of total depletion forces a choice. We either continue until the system collapses, or we adopt a new framework called sustainable development. This is the attempt to balance economic progress today with the non-negotiable survival needs of future generations. The international community formally acknowledged this crisis in June of 1992. More than 100 heads of state gathered in Brazil for the first International Earth Summit to address global ecological damage. The primary outcome of that summit was Agenda 21. It was a sweeping declaration that mandated every local government to draw up their own specific plans to combat environmental damage and poverty through mutual cooperation. The 1992 summit was the moment humanity publicly admitted that endless, indiscriminate extraction had failed and had to be replaced by deliberate, unified responsibility. Converting that global responsibility into action requires a highly practical domestic strategy known as resource planning. In a massive, geographically diverse country, you have to measure exactly what you have before you use it. The first phase is purely diagnostic. We conduct extensive surveying and mapping across all regions to identify the exact quantity and quality of our remaining natural materials. The second phase focuses on extraction. We have to build a specific institutional structure, equipped with the exact right technology and skilled labor, to ensure we extract the material safely and efficiently. The final phase is alignment. Every localized extraction plan must perfectly match the nation's overall development goals to ensure the wealth generated serves the entire population, not just a few. We compare this planning with immediate physical remedies on the ground. We can aggressively plant shelter belts of trees in arid areas, properly treat industrial effluents before they enter the water supply, and tightly manage our grazing lands. Decades before these modern summits and global agendas, Mahatma Gandhi articulated the foundational philosophy that must guide all of these policies moving forward. He observed that the planet provides enough for everybody's need, but not for anybody's greed. We created the impending ecological collapse by treating the Earth as a limitless bank account. But by implementing deliberate planning, building equitable institutions, and recognizing the true fragility of the land, our ingenuity remains the one tool capable of fixing it.